If you are watching this video, I believe you are either a writer, a publisher, a social media manager, a publicist, or even a creative designer. And branding is a very important aspect of your trade. Branding is not just about the logo or the images or the colors or your motto. Branding is beyond that. While those things are visual aspect of a brand itself is a definition of who you are. A brand is a definition of your values, of what you believe in. A brand, when a brand is mentioned, what comes to the heart of your customers or your clients or your audience should be, what do you do? Who are you? And what makes you different among your competitors? Now, when we see brands or companies, organizations like GTB, Pepsi or Coke or Dangote, you can name lots of them, Bella Nigeria, those are company brands. There are individual brands like, if I mention someone like Chino Achebe, Chimamanda, if I mention someone like Wole Soyinka, you know what pops into your mind? So that's the unique thing about branding. When I mention your name or I mention your brand, what comes to the heart of the person listening, what comes to their mind? Before we continue, I would like us to treat quickly the various importance of branding or why you should build your brand. Number one, a brand shows your credibility. A brand helps you to earn more money because when you are able to separate yourself from the crowd, you are able to get to your right clients who will patronize you at the amount you want. A brand sets you apart from your competitors. A brand gives you a feeling of prestige. How do you build a brand? As the second question I want to put into her. Number one, you need to know why. Why do you do the things you do? Why does your brand exist, or why is it existing? What are you out there to accomplish? Okay, you should be able to define your brand. You should be able to spell out the reason why you are doing what you do. The things that force you to wake up at night to work on your company, to work on your ideas. They should be strong enough. Number two, know your difference. There are so many people doing the same thing that you are trying to do, but you need to separate yourself. For example, I'm a digital media strategist. There's someone else who could be a search engine expert. Now, I know what my job is limited to. He knows what his own job is limited to. So you should be able to separate your kind of work. If you are a poetry writer, you should know that your writing will be different from someone who writes Christian literatures. As such, you separate yourself, you define your kind of writing or your kind of brand. And number three, find your niche or niche. Your niche is your market, your audience. Who are the people that have been spelled out to patronize your brand? For example, if you are a Christian writer, your audience is a church or ministers or people that have one or two things to do with a ministry. If you are a blogger, you know where to find yourself and to find your audience. They are online. So you need to find out where the people who understand or who are meant for your brand are located. Another vital point in branding is defining your brand statement. Your brand statement. Your brand statement must be punchy, it must be memorable, and it must be solution oriented. Your brand statement is the definition of what your brand stands to accomplish. I forgot to say, your brand or branding is promise delivered. It's a promise that you deliver to those who patronize your audience, your customers. So you need to define your brand statement. For example, as a digital media strategist, having the opportunity to work with a lot of clients, some of the things we have encountered, the problems I've encountered with them is they are unable to define their brand statement. As such, they are unable to reach the right type of clients. Okay, so you need to define your brand statement. For example, my brand statement is, I help organizations. Like I said, it must be solution oriented, it must be memorable and punchy. So I help organizations to build and promote their brands. I do this both online with creative designs and also on social media. My third point, we'll consider things like taglines, logo or images, and colors, because those are various. I spoke earlier about the visual aspect of your brand. These are the areas where they come in. You know, we see things like business cards, websites, accessories, and a lot of those things. This is where they come in. So you must be able to define your tagline. For example, MTN tagline is MTN. Everywhere you go, we have Glow that will tell you rule your world. Okay, so you must be able to define your tagline. Then your images and logo, you should find corresponding images to your brand. The images that you use must correspond to what you do. As such, you must find a very, very, very intelligent and excellent creative designer to help you come up with a very powerful logo and images as concerned. Then the third point is colors. Colors are very important. They are very, very important. I'm very sure, if you agree with me, if you see anything yellow and I think green or blue, you see MTN, or you see something like green, total green, lime green, what comes to your mind is Glow. If you see red, what comes to your mind is Airtel. Okay, those are examples. So you should be able to define your color. On this note, I like to advise you to go online and find different colors and what is attached to them. For example, orange color depicts something social, something fun, and something relative. So you should be able to define your colors. On a final note, I would like us to understand how to manage our brand. The brand that you've been able to successfully build, how do you manage it? Number one, be consistent. You should be able at all times to deliver on your promise. What have you promised your customers or your audience? What services have you outlined that you will deliver if they patronize you? That is what makes your brand to stand out all the time. You should be able to do or to define your brand well in order to be consistent with it. Be consistent with your operations, be consistent with your method of operations, be consistent with how you relate with your customers. Number two, know your value, know your worth, know the capacity of the kind of brand that you own. You should be able to know what you should charge for a service or for your product. I would also advise you to go online to find people who do similar jobs that you will be doing with your brand, to be able to know the appropriate way to address customers, to address or to get payment. Number three, recognize your niche. You need to understand your sphere of influence. You need to target your audience where they are. Your niche is your market. It is your market segmentation, where the right kind of clients or customers or audience will find you, or you will find them. So as a writer, you should find yourself in a network of writers. You should attend meetings where writers and publishers gather. And finally, communication. You should be able to define the right form or mode or the appropriate means of communication for your brand. For example, if you are selling books, I strongly advise that you should be online. You should be on Amazon. You should be on PayHip. You should be on eBay. There are several platforms that you can take your brands to. So find yourself in the right place that your customers are, and this will contribute a lot to getting you more sales and more influence in your writing career. And on a final note, I would like us to see the list of the things that we have considered in this video so far. So in order to build a successful brand, these are the things to put in mind: your mission, your niche or your market segment, your profile, both offline and online, your communication platform, graphics, logo, and the source, and more importantly, your personality or your character as a brand. It should be able to appropriately position these things so that you'll be able to have a successful brand. I really want to thank you for seeing this video, and I encourage you to share it and also revisit it in time. If you'd like to communicate me for further inquiries, you can just visit my website www.adejohakeji.com.ng and just drop me a message there. I'll be glad to reply you. Have a wonderful time.